The plant-based diet was the most anti-cancer diet that was in existence today. And so I adopted the plant-based diet because I said, I will never get cancer. I will never go through what my parents went through, and I will never put my children and loved ones through that.
Hey there, Empowered Vegan Lifers. This is Ella. And today I'm incredibly grateful to be here with eco-entrepreneur and my good friend, Allison Melody. Allison is the host of one of my favorite podcasts, Food Heals, and she's also a film producer, international speaker, and published author. So if you don't have her book, Food Heals, you're going to want to order it. Yes, after you hear her story today, you will definitely want to order it. And for those of you listening, I'm holding it up right now, and I love this book. I'm actually in it. So
Yes, you are.
Well, welcome, Allison. Thank you for being here.
Thanks, Ella. So good to see you virtually, but I wish we were in person.
I know. Well, we've had some really good in-person times lately. I mean, within the last few years, right?
Yes, absolutely. Italy and most recently Florida, which was great. Right before the lockdown, we got to see each other, so that was nice.
Oh, that was so cool. We went to PodFest 2020, and it was phenomenal. And you were busy bee there. Allison was lecturing, and wow, yeah, she knows everybody, literally, like everybody. This woman is connected.
I love my podcasters.
Yes. All right. Well, Allison, can you tell us, I know your story is in your book and so much more is in your book, but our listeners just have to hear it. It is so inspiring, so motivating. And could you share, I kind of asked all my guests, what's your going vegan story? But that story is always very massive, and that's totally cool. So we want to hear it all. Can you share?
For sure. Well, like you, I grew up in Chapel Hill. So if your listeners know your story or know anything about Chapel Hill, it's like a really idyllic community. And I loved growing up there. And but as Ella was on the streets protesting animal rights, I was in Chapel Hill having absolutely no awareness of food, nutrition, health, animal activism. I was just growing up in my happy family bubble, and I had a great upbringing. And then when I was in college, I went to Wilmington, North Carolina, and my parents moved to their beach house, which was in Topsail, about 30 minutes away from Wilmington. And that's kind of when everything started to go downhill health-wise for my family. So my mom had multiple sclerosis when I was growing up, and multiple sclerosis is a disease where they say the immune system is attacking itself. And so she had all of the symptoms, but they were very slow to kind of build. And it wasn't until I was in college that she was really being affected, where she was losing the ability to feel her hands. She was having numbness and tingling in her fingers and toes. And it got to the point where she wasn't able to walk without a cane. And then it got to the point where she was essentially in a motorized scooter. So I was watching my mother lose her vitality and be unable to do things like walk up and down steps. And she was still way too young for this to be happening. But the doctors didn't have any solutions except pill after pill after pill, mostly painkillers. So she would be zonked out a lot, sleeping a lot. And then a lot of the painkillers had side effects. So then it would be another drug to combat the side effect of dizziness or nausea or something like that. So she was on a cocktail of drugs all day long when I was in college. And right before, I think it was my junior year of college, we got a new diagnosis, and it was cancer. And it was just the most shocking thing, because I didn't understand how cancer could possibly be related to multiple sclerosis and all of that. But the doctors said, drugs, chemotherapy, surgery, and radiation, we have all these options. And, my parents were like, let's do them all. So we did them all. And it seemed to me at the time that the cure was worse than the condition, because at least when she had cancer, she only had her MS symptoms. There were no other symptoms. She still had her hair. She still was vibrant and funny and fun. But when she started treatment, she got completely bedridden and just lost all her zest for life. And I think her will to live, to be honest with you, because the treatments were so harsh. And they did not cure her. And 1 month before I graduated from UNC Wilmington, my mother passed away. And so that was the beginning of my quote unquote, alas, for my vegan story. But that didn't make me vegan right away. I still had no awareness of nutrition, but it opened my eyes because I thought, if we have these, we had gone to UNC, we had gone to Duke, we had gone to the best specialists and doctors we could, and no one gave us any other options other than the Western medicine protocol of drugs, surgery, chemotherapy, and radiation. And so I didn't know anything about nutrition, but my eyes were open and my curiosity was piqued. And I thought, if we have the best medicine, why can't they figure this out? And I started realizing the amount of people that I knew who had dealt with cancer in their family or multiple types of diseases in their family, autoimmune conditions, and just people being chronically fatigued and exhausted when they were too young to do so, even college students, And I started to make the connection that what we eat mattered. And when I had asked the doctor, does nutrition matter? They said, no, it doesn't matter. And so we were like, okay, great, no problem. Let's move on. But then I started making the connection. So my father and I took this epic trip to like the Virgin Islands, and I was in the airport and I picked up a book and it was called Natural Cures They Don't Want You to Know. And I was like, what's this? And I was just shocked because it just opened my eyes to all of these what seemed to be conspiracy theories about the FDA and the WHO and all of these health organizations and the pharmaceutical companies. And I was just like, what does all this mean? So I became really passionate about researching. Cut to my father was then 2 years after my mother passed away, diagnosed with cancer as well. And I was like, this can't be happening again. I mean, I was shocked. I was scared, all of the things that you go through, because it's a trauma, and then you're re-traumatized because I personally hadn't really grieved the loss of my mother. I just kind of moved past it and was like, we're going to be okay. So that's when I got obsessed with nutrition. And I was like, all right, I've read these stories about these people who have healed themselves, and I'm going to heal you. So I started making him garlic concoctions and telling him he had to cleanse, because I had learned that the body was designed to heal itself if given the tools that it needed to do so. But how do you heal? Well, you have to do a reset, a cleanse, a detox, if you will. And so I was feeding him greens and vegetables and making him green juices and green smoothies, and he would literally pretend he was asleep so that he didn't have to take this concoction of garbage that he thought I was giving him. And so it was Wilmington, North Carolina. It wasn't like I live in LA where there's a green juice bar on one corner, a yoga studio on the next. There was no awareness of holistic health back then. So I found one doctor who was holistic, and he did not have a white coat. He didn't have a doctor's office. He lived in a cabin in the woods, and we drove out there. And my dad was just like, I don't think so, as soon as we pulled up. But I was like, give it a chance, give it a chance. So this doctor had helped, and he doesn't cure and he doesn't heal, but he helps patients who are willing to do the detox protocol that he recommends. He has helped them reverse all kinds of cancers, including stage 4, including liver, including lung, all of the things. My dad had liver, and he had helped hundreds of people reverse it. And so I was like on a mission, like, Dad, we are going to cure you and all of the things. And one day my dad sat me down and he said, I don't believe in this. And if I don't believe in this, it's not going to work for me. And so the hardest thing I ever did was say, okay, Dad, I respect, your wishes, and I'm just going to be there and be the love and be the light for you. And so he passed away just a few months after his diagnosis. And that, Ella, that is when I was on a mission, because I was distraught and miserable, but I was also like, this should not be happening. Why is this happening? So I became my own investigative journalist, and I moved to LA to do film, and I was hired to take the photos of a woman, and I was driving her to Malibu to do the photos. She was pregnant, so I was doing her pregnancy announcement photos. And she was like, well, my baby is a miracle because I had ovarian cancer and I healed it myself. And I was like, pull over, what? Tell me everything. And so from her story of going vegan, of cleansing her body with nutrients, fruits, vegetables, and all the vegan, whole food, plant-based diets, she cured herself in 4 months. She didn't have the surgery they recommended. She didn't, which would have probably left her barren. She didn't do the chemo. She didn't do anything. And she had completely reversed her tumor growth to the point where they didn't exist, shrank them so much. And so I started meeting more and more people. I met Joe Cross, who a lot of people know from Fat, Sick, and Nearly Dead. And I just started interviewing people, as many people as I could. And what I learned from my research, and also what the scientists say and the doctors like Dr. Greger say, was that the plant-based diet was the most anti-cancer diet that was in existence today. And so I adopted the plant-based diet because I said, I will never get cancer. I will never go through what my parents went through, and I will never put my children and loved ones through that. And so my mission is just to spread the plant-based message as much as I can, because I do believe, I don't know what would have happened if I had had all the information that I have now at my fingertips, that the body is designed to heal itself, that the plant-based diet can reverse and prevent disease. You know, there's so many documentaries that you and I have seen, and so many people that we have talked to who have reversed all kinds of chronic and degenerative disease with a plant-based diet, with a good detox, with juice cleansing. And that's the message that I want to share, that, hey, there is another way. And maybe try nutrition first. And then if you still want to do the Western medicine model, I'm not telling anyone not to. I'm not anti-Western medicine, but I am pro-vegetables. I am pro-greens.
Hell yes. Wow. Oh, Allison, that's a story.
You've heard it before, but
I have, but every time I'm not even kidding. I chills just take over my body every time I hear it, because it is so powerful. And I actually get really emotional just hearing it. And you know, I forgot at the beginning to tell people that we happen to, like, the universe just works in such amazing ways, right?
Yeah.
Do you remember you booked me on your show before
Yes.
I found out that we grew up in the same town, Chapel Hill, North Carolina. You just happened to go to the school across the way, and that we went to the same college, and we were like a year apart.
Yeah, so I remember we did the interview, and it was either before or after the interview that I friended you on Facebook, and I was like, why is she friends with my ex-boyfriend and all these guys I know? I was like, what?
Yes, it's so wild, so wild. And so we've taken this path, and I love how, you know, you've come at it in your angle and I've come at my angle. But the truth is, you know, the vegan lifestyle, there's no lose, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just a win-win no matter what people's reason is. And I think you do such a good job of bringing people together in that way. Thank you for what you do, number one. And then how did you end up going from there to making a career, you know, out of this?
For sure. Well, it was a few years of like researching and interviewing. I had a film production background because I had gone to college for it. So I created a film production company. So there was years of doing that. So I was interviewing people, and I did not know what a podcast was, but I was like, I want to tell people all of these stories. So I started a blog, and no one read it. And it wasn't until I discovered podcasting that my business and world changed. And I really became a voice, and I had a platform to give others a voice, because all I wanted to do was share these incredible stories, because I wanted I wanted little me, everyone who was me, you know, now 15 years ago or whatever it may be, but to know what options existed. I wanted them to hear inspiring stories of people who had healed. So I started the podcast, and that is when everything changed, because that's when, you know, when you first get into this, you're like, everyone wants to know this, right, Ella? And then you find out, not everybody wants to know this. Okay. So when I'm telling someone like, oh, did you know that dairy milk is linked to breast cancer? Or like, you know, whatever it is that I'm saying, and they're like biting into an ice cream sandwich or grilled cheese, they're like, Allison, I do not want to hear this, you know? And so I realized I had to find a way to speak to the people who wanted to hear it. So when I started the podcast, which is called Food Heals, which Ella has been on many times, since we started, you were definitely on in the first year, I believe. And
was I?
I think so. And multiple times since then.
I feel so honored. That's amazing.
You're an OG. You're a Food Heals OG.
Oh, yeah. Let's go.
Yeah. And so I was like, unlike the blog, which I launched with no marketing plan and no skills in place, I started delving into research just as hardcore as I researched like the plant-based lifestyle and all of that and healing disease. I started researching internet marketing and podcasting and all of that. So I launched with a very strategic marketing plan. And that's what allowed me to have success early on and build a foundation and a tribe of fans who still are with me to this day. And the reason that that's so important is because I know that I can make a difference, even if it's a small tribe. It doesn't have to be millions of people. You can make a difference with a small tribe of people who believe in what you have to say. So I'm all about empowering people. Tell your story, share your stories. Very often, your story could be the key to unlocking someone else's prison. And that's what I try to do with Food Heals, not just with my story, but with all the incredible stories of people like yourself and people who have healed themselves and have stories to share, because we can inspire others to do the same.
Wow. Yeah. Let me ask you this, Allison. Your story there's a lot of emotion there, a lot of pain.
Yeah.
At what point did you feel ready to, be vulnerable and expose that and share that with the world? How did you know it was the time to do that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm still figuring that out. Is it time now? I don't know. Like, I share a lot, but to be vulnerable is difficult. I certainly can tell my story without breaking down now because I've told it so many times. But when I started the podcast, I was certainly like Little Miss Sunshine, like vegetables will heal you. Yay. And it wasn't until a few years in that I started more deep. I certainly shared my story at the beginning, but I got very deep and much more vulnerable as I went along and felt more and more comfortable and more making the realization that, like, the more real and authentic we are, the more people can relate to us and feel inspired to change. If we're approaching it from a place of I went vegan and everything is perfect, it really turns people off, right? And so the more vulnerable we can be, the more impact that we can have. So if I want to be an impact, I have to put it all out there. So I think it's just a slow going thing. I remember the first or last time I cried on my show was when I read the first book chapter of the book you mentioned earlier that your story is in, Food Heals. I read it on my show, and it was the unedited draft, so it's slightly different now because then Laura Peterson, my amazing editor, made it a little better for me. But it was my unedited draft. It was straight out of my mouth, no ghostwriting. It was my story written, and it was hard to read that story, but I got so many emails about it, and that's what really helped me realize, like, okay, I am helping people. So when you get those emails and stuff, all right, we're on the right path, and the more vulnerable I can be, the better it is. Now, there are still things I haven't, necessarily shared or been vulnerable about because I wasn't ready. So it's all a journey, and I'll share when I'm ready,
Hell yeah, I know. We have so much in common in that way. And yeah. I did too. I came out like, look, I'm the perfect sexy fit vegan.
Yes.
Look at me. You can be like me. And people are like, who are you? Like, who are you really? And so, yeah, I can totally relate to that. And can you relate to this? Once I wrote my story out on my blog, right? When I decided it's time to just put it all out there, and I'm going to do it in a big way. I'm not going to tell my friend. I'm going to tell the world. And then I hit publish, and the weight that was lifted for me was so huge when I published that. Did you feel that kind of weight?
Yeah. Yeah, I feel it all the time, honestly. Yeah. Every time I go deeper, every time I share, it's like a little bit lighter, a little bit lighter. And I think it's part of our healing journey as well, because if we keep it inside our traumas, we block the healing. So I don't care how much green juice you're drinking. If you are stressed out and holding on to trauma or holding on to anger, or holding on to stress, holding on to sadness or grief, then our bodies can't heal. So as vegan as I may be, if I'm not releasing my trauma and speaking my truth, then I could still, get cancer, because there is an emotional connection as well. So I try to be really conscious of that and try to let go. I have my favorite song, I think I shared with you before, but I'll share it again for your listeners, that I love to. It's like a letting go process, where it's Taylor Swift's "Shake It Off." I don't care if you love her or you hate her. You put on that song and you dance and you shake it off physically, and you will feel so much better. Because sometimes when we're unable to deal with the emotional component, I'm all about trauma healing, but sometimes you can't get there and you don't want to get there. So you can release physically in order to release emotionally, just like you can release emotionally in order to release physically. So if you're just not sure where to start with trauma healing, you're like, I'm not ready to share my story on a podcast, you guys, no problem. Go shake it off with Taylor Swift. You're going to start to heal. You're going to start to feel better. And then you'll gain the confidence as you go through meditation and through letting go and through crying it out and through dance, all of the things to share your story. So that's one of my tips, especially right now. We're all on lockdown and it gets frustrating. Even for me, I work from home, so it's not a huge shift, but I'm like, I need to get to a happy hour. Okay, I need a hug. So I go shake it off, shake off the frustration.
Shake it off, shake it off. I'm not going to sing, that's embarrassing. Anyway, so great. so your career also, I love how many things you're doing right now, because you're helping people that are at every point on their journey. And I know a lot of our listeners also, we have a big range of people on their vegan path. And some of them are at that point where they're like, I need to do something with my passion bigger, right? Bigger than just sharing. Could I make a career out of it? Like, is that possible? Like, that seems very scary to think about dropping what I'm doing and following my passion. What would you say to those people, those listeners that we have?
Yeah, if you have a passion and a desire to help people and serve others, there's no reason why you can't make a career out of it. You do have to understand that entrepreneurship is very different from a 9 to 5. There are no guarantees, so you have to be fully committed, and you have to understand that as you go, you're going to hit walls and you're going to make mistakes, and those are all just detours in the right direction if you can see them that way. But instead of going, every time I hit a wall and I can't figure something out, or something doesn't go the way I think, you can't stop. You have to keep going. And if you have that positive mindset, then and you have a desire to serve others, I truly believe you can make it your career. The biggest thing I see people say is like, oh, especially in the health and wellness world, the world that we're in, or fitness, nutrition, self-help, all the things, a lot of people have blocks when it comes to charging, because people say, oh, I can't charge for that because I should give that away for free. You hear this a lot with yoga, meditation, or people are like, I'll just give you a free call, or I'll just give you half price, and things like that. Corporations and companies are making billions of dollars keeping people sick. Think about that. Billions of dollars are made every day keeping us sick and addicted to pills. Why shouldn't we be making billions of dollars getting people healthy? So think about that when you're in self-doubt, when you're in your self-worth issues, when you're in imposter syndrome. I don't care who's done it before. I don't care who's doing it now. I don't care what your competition looks like. You have your own unique set of skills, your own passion, and your own story. So whatever anyone else is doing, you'll do it differently, right? So I like to bust imposter syndrome and that, that's myth that we shouldn't make money on health, because it is an exchange of energy. If you're helping someone, they're helping you back. And so you're helping one another, right? And so if you have a passion, you can absolutely make it your career.
Love that. And I think there's so much information out there now, which is the opposite problem of what we used to have back in the day.
Exactly.
Yeah. But now it's overwhelming, and there's conflicting information. And do I follow this person? What do I do? One thing that I think for people like you who are creating, and people like me who are creating programming to help people get focused, and charging a fee for that helps keep people focused. It helps people see the value and to be committed to following the process. So it's a way of serving people, and the side effect is that we make some money off of it, right?
Yeah.
But the whole thing is, how do I serve people best? And if you don't charge for it, people are just going to go and be all over the place and not get what they need from what we're doing. So I think that's another, place to put value on what we're doing and what you're doing.
Yeah. And one of the things I've noticed is that if I do allow, and I've certainly done this because I have compassion, just like you, it's like, sometimes I'll allow a friend into a program for free, and I'll just be like, I know you need this, and I know you can't afford it, but you need this. Guess how many times they show up? Maybe the first time, maybe the second time, sometimes 0. Yeah. But essentially they don't take it seriously because they haven't made a commitment to themselves. And so now anytime someone asks me, like, let me take you out for a green juice or for dinner to pick your brain, I say, here's my pick my brain sessions. And when you commit, I commit. When you commit to me, I commit to you, because I've been taken out for plenty of coffees and green juices and given all of my information and help that I can, and then that person doesn't do anything. So that's a waste of both of our time. So it's when you commit, I commit.
Oh, that is one of my pet peeves. Pick your brain. When someone says, oh, can I take you for coffee? I just want to pick your brain. Get out of my brain. What are you doing? I don't want you to pick my brain. Like, it sounds awful to me. And exactly what you said. I think that's so true. Now, given the current situation we have here in the world, right, this pandemic, the COVID-19, I know you've done a lot of work to really spread the message of how we can protect ourselves, how we can prevent ourselves from being ill, but also how we can continue to thrive in business as well. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, so when this first happened, I was like, all right, I feel this responsibility because the news media outlets were reporting a lot of doom and gloom. And that's their job because mainstream media is bought and paid for by their sponsors. Who are their sponsors? Mostly pharmaceutical drugs. If you look at between every commercial on the news, it's usually like, do you feel restless leg? And then there's someone canoeing, and then it's, there's some pill that you should take for that, right? And so essentially, they're not going to report on the natural things that we can do to stay healthy. And the last straw for me was when one of the mainstream media outlets was recommending their podcast. I went and listened to it because I was like, I want to hear what the public health advice and information really is. And it was a myth busting episode. And they said, myth, or like rumor going around or something like that. And it was garlic and vitamin C should be taken to stop the coronavirus. And it was like false. There is no evidence to suggest that vitamin C or garlic will fight off coronavirus. Exactly. There's also no evidence to show that it won't. There's no time for long-term studies on this. Why not? It's irresponsible, in my opinion, to not tell people to double down on their immune system right now. We know that certain supplements and things made in nature are virus killers, like colloidal silver, like vitamin C, like vitamin D taken in megadose amounts, like garlic. If these kill other viruses, it is safe to take them in order to try to prevent disease, right? Because our immune system will determine whether or not we get sick. Now, I'm not saying that they are a cure and that they're going to cure COVID-19. We frankly don't know, but it seemed irresponsible to me for the main health professionals that people were listening to in the media to not be promoting prevention in any way because it was unproven. It's also not proven that they can't help us. And so I'm just all about taking as many vitamins as you can, getting those greens in, eating an array of fruits and vegetables. And so Ella, like you, I just started interviewing the doctors that I thought would give me a holistic and positive perspective. And so my whole goal with Food Heals especially when this first started, was to get the holistic and positive perspective that wasn't being talked about on the news. And every doctor that I interviewed was just like, boost your immune system, ground zero. They all had different ways of doing that, whether it was vitamins or infrared saunas or exercise, but every person said the same thing: super boost your immunity right now and you'll probably be fine.
Yeah, you were on it. Like, this whole thing came out and here you were like, I'm interviewing this person and this person and this person. Here's a website you can go visit and has all this information about building your immunity and blah, 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 blah. Like, you went off. Let's go ahead and tell people where the best place to find that kind of information from you.
Yeah, foodhealsnation.com. You can click on COVID-19 resources, and it's kind of just a collection. And it's not a really hard to navigate site. It's very simple. And it's just like, here are the vitamins recommended by doctors like Dr. Stephen Cabral, like Dr. Neil Barnard. And so you can go to that website and see what they're recommending. I also recommend my friend Katie Kramitzo's site, and she, who you know as well, and she came out with coronavirusmeditations.com. And so these are guided meditations just for people going through stress, anxiety, and depression, because like we were talking about earlier, when we're boosting our immune system, we also have to make sure that our mental and emotional health is in check. And so I recommend her site as well. So all the recommendations are at foodhealsnation.com, COVID-19 resources.
Awesome. And podcast, of course, Food Heals Podcast.
Yeah.
Yay. All right. So what I'm doing with my guests, I don't even think I told you this, but it's a sprint round. Okay. So I've got five questions, just the first thing that comes to the top of your head. Is that cool?
Okay. Yeah.
What's a food you could eat every single day for the rest of your life?
Vegetables over quinoa with teriyaki sauce.
Nice. Very good. Name a famous vegan you really admire.
Ella Majors.
Oh my gosh. I so did not put that in there for you to do that. Oh my goodness. Okay. What qualities do you find sexy?
In a man?
Or in a woman? Human being.
What qualities do I find sexy? Confidence and drive and passion.
A specific exercise you have a love-hate relationship with.
Planks. I love to see how long I can hold it, and then I'm like, I'm not going to beat that time, and I'm just like, I'm done here, and then I try again the next day.
How long are you at? What's your record?
3 minutes.
I'm calling you out. That's good.
Not right now. I'm not at that right now, but I remember that's the long, I have a little list in my phone. I did a plank challenge for like maybe 2 months, like last year. And that was the longest I had done. So now I'm just like, nope, COVID-19 freshman or COVID-19 20, baby.
All right, last one. If you were a non-human animal, what animal would you be?
A dog or a monkey?
Why a dog or a monkey?
I love dogs, and dogs are my life. But monkeys are really smart and really cute, and I don't know.
Well, that's why it's a sprint round. First thing that comes to your mind.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. Are there any other projects you're working on that you want to share? I know you have a free course. You've got the 5 steps to food freedom. Tell us about that.
Yeah, freeweightlosscourse.com. You can get the free course where you get the 5 steps to food freedom. That's really about emotional eating and how to get over that. I think that's something that I really promote a lot because I've been through it, is how to stop yourself from emotional eating, because even you can be a plant-based, plant-powered person and still be eating emotionally, because when we're doing that, it's all, if you're not eating, if you're eating too much, if you're overeating, if you're binging and purging, if you have an eating disorder, it all comes back to a few things: control and not wanting to feel a feeling that we need to feel. So if you decide instead to go through the emotional processes that I teach in the course, you will find that you stop binge eating or choosing to eat unhealthy foods. Like my thing was sugar addiction. My thing was, I was eating vegan, but I was eating way too much of it because I was sad or I didn't want to deal with something. And so that's what I teach in Food Freedom. So there's 5 steps to food freedom. And then if you want to come on a longer journey with me, there's a paid course as well.
Amazing. Allison, thank you again so much for being here. And I hope you will come back many times on this show as I did on yours. And one more time, where can they find you?
Foodhealsnation.com. Thanks, Ella. Honored to be here.
Amazing. Awesome. That's a wrap, you guys. Make sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss an episode, and head on over to our website where we will always have a gift waiting for you, a place to leave us a message with your questions, and apply to be coached on an upcoming show. And of course, if you're loving what you are hearing here, we would be extremely grateful if you'd leave us an authentic review and use the share feature to invite all the people you care about in this world to listen. Until next time.